Hey there everyone, Video Game Cabinet here, and tonight we are back with a special video. This is going to be my top 100 favorite video games of all time. I am 42 years old and I have been playing video games since I was 5. All of the games on this list I have beaten from start to end screen on authentic hardware unless specified otherwise. There's one or two games where I beat on a couple of those mini systems, but other than that, these were all done on authentic carts or CDs or DVDs on the systems. Some of these games were beaten on easy mode, some done on normal or hard mode. I'll try to specify, how I beat them when I describe each game, and some of them I did some extra stuff, some of them I did a lot of extra stuff. I'll try to specify as best I can. This is my list, my taste. This is how I feel today in July of 2025. Taste changes over time, but just to put a timestamp on it, this is now. I may feel differently in a year, in 6 months. I'm sure I'm going to feel differently tomorrow about a couple of things and want to massage this list forever, but I'm committing to putting this list together today. I make up the rules and I break the rules as I go along and see fit. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to group together certain games from certain series. If I see them as relatively equal or basically equal or close enough, into the same slot. I will even group together spiritual sequels if I see them as pretty much equal, and I'll specify a couple of those slots as we get to them. Yeah, so like I said, taste changes. A couple of years ago, I made a top 35 of each console generation, starting from Gen 3 through Gen 9, the current gen. But you're going to see some games placed differently on this list than they were placed on those other lists a couple of years ago because my taste changed and I thought about it more. That, and you're going to see other games that are placed very highly that were in those generations that were not on my list 2 years ago because I hadn't played them yet. I beat 40 plus games per year, so that's retro and modern. So, I'm constantly seeing new stuff that I didn't get to, in the past. So without further ado, this is the Video Game Cabinet's Top 100 Favorite Video Games of All Time! Kicking off the list at number 100 is Wipeout XL. Man, I played a ton of this back in middle school when it came out. This was, at the time, this was my favorite racing game of all time. It just was so fast. The music got me pumped. The techno soundtrack, the speed, the weapons, everything. It was just so much fun. I played this game over and over and over and just couldn't get enough of it back in middle school. Just absolutely still one of my favorite racing games of all time. Number 99 is Ghost of Tsushima for the PlayStation 5. The PS4 was too underpowered to handle this ambitious samurai epic, but the PS5 polished off all the rough edges, and I had an amazing time with this epic open-world action samurai game. The stealth, everything was just so amazing. The missions, the story, there was just so much content to keep coming back to and playing again and again, even after the end credits roll. Number 98 is Red Dead Redemption for PlayStation 3. John Marston's story here is just amazing. This open world Western was just so incredible, so engrossing. I love the story. The ending is devastating. I absolutely love this game. I played it back in 2010, right when I got married. And it's just, I have so many amazing memories of this game. The sequel I thought was boring, so you definitely will not see that game on this list. I thought the sequel was very overrated, but that does not take away from this original classic that it was just so amazing and so much fun. Number 97 is the original Shining Force for Sega Genesis. This one I played on the Genesis Mini in late 2022, but eventually I might have to go knock this one out on the authentic cart, but here's the authentic CIB. This game was amazing. This was just a pioneer in strategy RPGs, and just so much fun. The tactics that you could do, moving your characters all over the screen, and the turn-based combat. This is strategy RPG, just done so fun and just an absolute classic to keep on coming back to. Number 96 is The Secret of Mana. This was a big favorite of mine back in grade school when it came out. I just have so many great memories of this as a kid. This was a great classic action RPG for the Super Nintendo with an amazing soundtrack. There was even a bit of multiplayer in there if you had the multi-tap. And just the three characters fighting, it's amazing. This is definitely one that I want to go back and play again, but just an absolute classic game. Number 95 is The Forgotten City. Man, I played this one in late 2022, and I thought, you know, maybe this is going to be boring, but oh no, once I started, I could not put it down. It's like a Groundhog Day, but in this old Roman city, and the characters, the interactions, the choices that you make, it is just amazing. I could not stop playing until I saw all the endings, and I just kept on replaying it until I got everything finished. It was just such an incredible game with incredible writing. Number 94 is Folklore for PlayStation 3. This was a marvelous Alice in Wonderland, whodunit sort of thing, fantasy tale. The plot was incredible. The mystery was incredible. The characters, everything was absolutely amazing. This would have scored and ranked even higher, though. It's just that I think they had some budget and time constraints, and a lot of the cutscenes were done in this comic book style instead of given the full cinematic polish. But most of the cutscenes, or at least a lot of them towards the end of the game and at the very beginning, are given the full cinematic polish with voice acting and everything. And overall, it's just a great game that should not be missed. I would love to see a remake of this. Number 93 is Dragon Warrior 2 and Dragon Warrior 3. These two games were equals for me. I started playing this series about 2.5 years ago, and they've been absolutely great. But Dragon Warrior 2 really took the quality of the series to new heights with just an epic map and three characters that you played as. And Dragon Warrior 3 did some other things that were just incredible. I prefer the music in Dragon Warrior 2, though, overall, but Dragon Warrior 3 has amazing gameplay. And but both of these games played great. I loved exploring the maps in these, and they're just both epic tales for the NES system. Number 92 is the Xenoblade Chronicles Trilogy. I still have not played X, but I played these first three all the way through. Part 1 I played on the Wii. Part 2 and Part 3 I beat on the Switch, and I played the DLCs. I loved all three of these equally. I thought that they were just amazing. You know, epic stories, big epic worlds to explore. I love the characters in all three games. I guess if I had to pick my favorite, I'd probably go with Part 3. But they were all great. Then maybe after that, Part 1 and then Part 2. But I still really loved Part 2. They were all really close for me. These are epic games that are just not to be missed. Number 91 is the original Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy IV. They called it 2 in the United States on the Super Nintendo, but for those in the know, this is the fourth one. So I'm putting number 1 and number 4 as equal. The first one I played on the NES Mini with save states. I'll eventually have to go beat it on the authentic cart. The fourth one, called Part 2 originally here on the Super Nintendo, this one I beat back in high school on the authentic cart there. These are both great games, great series. This just started things off to an amazing start with amazing music. And Part 4 really took character development and story to a whole new level for the series. I also really liked Part 2 and 3 in between, but the best one on the NES was definitely the first one. And the first one on the Super Nintendo, which was Part 4, this one was just an amazing story, amazing characters, and music soundtrack. My God, just great games. Number 90 is Bayonetta 3. I absolutely love this series. This game was just so awesome with all the different attack options it gave you and combos and the witch time, and everything was just incredible. So much imagination. I love the story too. This game is just amazing, fluid, fast, action gameplay that I just cannot get enough of. And this was a great, fantastic installment in the Fantastic series. Number 89 is Neo 2. I absolutely love this series, and this sequel really kicks things up a notch. This took me over 100 hours to finish. This game is freaking hard. It's so deep. I absolutely love the fluid 3D combat sword play. It's the best around. And the counters that you can do, all the weapons, all the army that you can pick up. This is just a huge quest and just such an immersive adventure to sink your teeth into. Number 88 is Metroid Dread. I beat this a few years ago when it came out, and at the time I thought, man, is there anything else that Nintendo can do with the Metroid franchise? And boy, was I wrong. This game was amazing, and it really mixed up the formula and had so many fresh ideas. This was a fantastic Metroid title that just had a riveting ending that just finished things off in an epic fashion, and it was just a great game, very challenging. The bosses, oh my god, they were hard, but so satisfying to beat. This is absolutely not to be missed. Number 87 is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1, 2, and 3. I played all three of these games a bunch back in the early 2000s, 1 and 2 on the Dreamcast, and Part 3 there on the PS2 right when it came out. These games changed the face of gaming and extreme sports forever, just rising up the popularity of both of them with their just amazing controls that made you feel, like you were on a skateboard, and just the combos that you could string together was just so amazing, and all the little goals that you can achieve with the perfect level design. And Part 2 just upped the ante with the manual move, and Part 3 upped the ante further with the revert move to just string together endless, infinite combos, and it was just so much fun, so goddamn addicting, you just could not put it down. Number 86 is Bloodborne, that I played on PlayStation 4 back in 2015 or so, around when it came out. Amazing, challenging game, great follow-up that From Software did to the Dark Souls games, and really mixed up the formula with really emphasizing being aggressive and attacking forward. And it's been a bit since I played this one. It's actually been 10 years, but I remember just having an amazing time with its gothic atmosphere, challenging gameplay, fast-paced gameplay, and just just endless, stuff to explore and level up, and it was just so much fun and so challenging. Coming in at number 85 is my favorite racing game of all time, and that is Burnout 3 Takedown. This game, just amazing. The way, how fast it was, and when you crash and you slow down and do the after touch, oh my god, that was just incredible. The crashes, the speed, the races, everything about this game was just too much fun. I played this back in college when it came out, and it just blew me away, blew everyone away, and it's just unlike any other racer at the time, and so amazing, you just couldn't put it down. Number 84 is the original Castlevania on the NES. I played this a bunch as a kid, could never beat it at the time until adulthood, and I've beaten it a couple times recently, once a few years ago with the Holy Water, and then last year I beat everybody, Grim Reaper with no Holy Water, just the Whip and Cross, and Dracula with the Whip and Cross, and I was so proud. I did a whole review on this last year in 2024, and this is just a classic game with just classic soundtrack. So simple, fun, retro-style gameplay. This is what retro gameplay is about, and retro memories and just nostalgia. This game is a classic that will live on forever. Number 83 is Fatal Fury, Mark of the Wolves. I played a gang of this back in college. This was just an amazing fighting game with amazing, beautiful artistry and graphics, deep gameplay. I absolutely love this game. I used to play as the chick here, Beat Janet, I believe her name was. It's been a while. I got to pick this one up again, but I remember this just being an amazing deep fighter that I played with a buddy of mine back in college, and we just had so much fun with it, playing against each other, playing against the computer, whatever. Just an amazing port of the Neo Geo game that I got here on the Dreamcast, and that's where I played it. Number 82, I'm giving to Super Mario Brothers and Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. Don't worry, there's more Mario games to come as this list gets higher. But these two I'm putting together. They're both marvelous games. Super Mario Brothers really just... This was the first video game I ever played as a kid, and it really made me fall in love with video games. And I even did a review on it last year, just the epitome of classic gaming. And Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, that was a great, great game, you know, with the butt stomp that you could do with Yoshi and all the stuff. It really focused on Yoshi here, but it was just an amazing platformer itself. I absolutely love these two games, just endless fun. And for the record, Yoshi's Island, that one I beat back in high school and then played again in adulthood a little bit after I got married. Great, great game. Number 81 is going to Crystalis for the NES. I beat this one back in early 2019, so it's been a while. I need to go back and play this again, but I just remember it being an absolutely super fun Zelda-like top-down adventure. And, you know, just the different swords you could collect and magic abilities, all the puzzles that you could do, the exploration. This, again, is another example of what classic gaming is about, and I absolutely love this game. It took me too long to get to, and I really want to play it again. Yeah, this is just a classic game that is absolutely one of my favorites on the NES. Number 80, I'm giving to Journey to Silius for the NES that I beat about 5 years ago. This is one of the top few hardest games that I've conquered for the system. It is just extremely challenging, but beating it brings an overwhelming sense of accomplishment, and the soundtrack might arguably be the best on the system, which is really saying something because the NES library is loaded with banger music. And this game is just an absolute run-and-gun action classic platformer, and it just an amazing game, one of my absolute favorites for the system. Number 79 is Kid Icarus. This was a big game from my childhood that I could never beat as a kid, but I came back a few years ago and finally beat it as an adult, figuring out how to farm for points and level up my character, and finally finished the game back in 2021, I think. So, like, over 30 years of playing and being tortured by this absolute classic. It's just an amazing game. I absolutely love it. Once you figure out how to get through the first few levels, it really plays amazing, and it's a great, great game, and I just wish Nintendo would visit it more often. It's a great property and just so much fun and such a nostalgic classic for me. Number 78, I am giving to Hades. This is the first roguelike that I played a few years ago. Great introduction to the series. I had so much fun playing this over and over again until I beat it the 10 times. Super challenging, very, very deep gameplay. Even though there's only a few levels that you just keep on playing over and over again, that's the appeal. Everything changes every time. It's not quite the same, but you do keep a little bit of your stuff in progress, but the rest of it you lose, and you just have to get good and get better and keep on fighting till you get to the end. And it's just so addicting, I couldn't put it down. Coming in at number 77, I'm giving it to Dead Cells. This is the other big indie roguelike. I actually played this one last year. I did 2 reviews on it. And it's just such an addicting game with so much to offer and all the DLC and everything. I even beat the Castlevania mashup DLC that they offered and beat the regular base game. I still have not beaten it on the harder difficulties because it's really hard, but this game is just exhilarating with its combat. I can't stop coming back to this. It is an amazing, amazing action roguelike Metroidvania type game, and it's just so deep and so much to offer. I will be playing this for years to come. Number 76 is It Takes Two. I beat this with my wife a few years ago, and we had a wonderful time with this marvelous platformer that just has so many amazing creative ideas, and the co-op play was just incredible, and the story about the married couple getting divorced and getting back together again, very touching, beautiful, beautiful ending, beautiful game, beautiful concept in gaming, just an absolute modern day classic that is not to be missed. Number 75, I'm giving to Street Fighter 4 and any updates they made. I played this a bunch on the Xbox 360 back when it came out. I think over 15 years ago, and this was just an amazing deep fighting game for the amazing franchise, the long storied franchise, and just so many of our favorite characters came back for this, and plus many new more, and it was just such a big game with a big roster, and just so much fun with the focus attack that you could do, and just endless replayability and just endless matches that I put into this on Xbox Live. Number 74, I'm giving to Guilty Gear Strive. This is the first installment in the series that I've gotten into, and this is my current go-to game in between single players when I want to play online and have fun and just get into this deep fighter. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface, but I've been playing this off and on for the last couple of years now, and it is just an amazing fighting game with anime graphics and just incredible 2D artwork and just deep fighting that it just, like, I cannot stop coming back to it, and I just want to keep on learning more and more, and it's just so much fun in the process. Coming in at number 73 is Silent Hill 2 and the Silent Hill 2 remake. I played both of these and reviewed both of them recently, and the more I think about them, the deep psychological horror story that these two games weave just sticks with me. I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop rewatching the cutscenes, and just solving the puzzles is amazing. The atmosphere is just so beautiful with both games. Obviously, they updated the graphics a lot with Part 2, but with Remake Part 2. But this remake, really mixes up a lot of like subtle things and really is its own game. They should both be played and appreciated for what they are, and they tell their own version of the same story. And it's just an amazing dark tale about confronting one's own demons and coming face to face with yourself. And it sticks with you. This is the birth of psychological horror, and it's still, two of the best games in the survival horror genre. Number 72, I'm giving to Thunder Force 3. The Genesis and Mega Drive were loaded with classic shmups with amazing soundtracks that I cannot stop listening to in my car. And this is one of them. Just so much fun, just classic, tight, simple shooter gameplay with tight mechanics and just an epic soundtrack that you cannot stop listening to. These games are just infinitely playable and replayable forever. Number 71, I'm giving to Battlemania Daijinjo. I beat it around the same time as Thunder Force 3, which was, I believe, 2021. Honestly, it's really close, but this game is just amazing. Another amazing shmup on the Mega Drive with like the two girls, one shooting forward and back, and just the music, oh my god, and the presentation just kicks things up to 11. It's just so much fun, and I cannot stop listening to the soundtrack and playing this game. I want to go back and play it again and beat it on harder difficulties. I've beaten it on easy mode, but yeah, this is just a classic game for the system. Number 70, I'm giving to Musha, another essential shmup on the Sega Genesis. This is just like the last two games where it just has an amazing epic soundtrack that I cannot stop listening to, and it's just very challenging. I beat this one, I believe, on the easiest difficulty setting back in 2022 or so, but I'd love to go back and play it again. I keep on listening to the soundtrack in my car. This game is just such a fun classic, an amazing, just absolutely essential shmup. Number 69, I'm giving to Eliminate Down. Honestly, this and the last three games, all four of them are really tied as my favorite shmup on the Mega Drive and Sega Genesis. But if you held a gun to my head, I guess today I'm going to pick this above them. This is just the most hardcore of the four of them. It was so difficult. I beat it earlier this year on easy mode, and my god, even that was very hard. But this is another one where the soundtrack is just so grindy, and those classic type of metallic grindy tunes that you only hear on the Sega Genesis, and it's just amazing for that. The soundtrack fits the foreboding mood perfectly, and this is just an amazing game that I'm so proud to have in the collection, and equally proud to have beaten even just on easy mode. So number 68, I'm giving to the first Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 3. I also played Part 2 and Part 4, and I thought those were also really good, but I think these two are peak Halo for me, of the ones that I've played. The original classic Halo Combat Evolved, I have such great memories of playing that back in early college, and Halo 3 came out a few years later, and that was great fun online, but really the single player in Halo 3 was the best out of the four that I played, and also just followed closely by this original one. Even though the levels got a little bit repetitive in the second half, for its time, this was really, really revolutionary stuff. It was great for the Xbox console. This was their flagship franchise, and the series peaked in Part 3. But yeah, they're both just so much fun. The multiplayer and the single player were just so much fun, with the enemy AI and the guns that were like simple but varied and just so much fun. And I'm gonna have to go back and play these again, but I played a gang of them and beat them back in college on at least whatever the standard difficulty was. I never beat it on legendary mode, but eventually I'll have to go back and do that. But yeah, amazing first-person shooters. Number 67, I'm giving to Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. I played this one about 10 years ago on my friend's 3DS, but I eventually got my own copy right here. And I love the way that this was a direct sequel to A Link to the Past. I thought that was very cool, the way they did that. And just the way that you could blend into the wall and shift to another wall like that. I remember that being a really cool puzzle, and just this game having a lot of new ideas while still using the Link to the Past map. It was very cool. I absolutely love this game. Number 66, I'm giving to Chrono Trigger. I know this is a lot of people's number one favorite JRPG. It's not quite that high for me, but my God, is it damn good anyway. This was a marvelous game with amazing graphics and gameplay and different endings and just so many options and open paths that you could do and choose with the time travel. And I played this a bit back in high school, but I never came back and actually fully finished it until about 5 years ago, 2020. So, you know, even though the lead character is a silent protagonist, the supporting cast takes center stage towards the late game, and it just really brought all the emotional beats that I want from a JRPG, and it's just so much fun. I want to go back and play this again to get more of the endings, but so far I've only gotten one of the many endings, but it's just an amazing, replayable, fantastic JRPG. Number 65, I'm giving to Ys 8, Lacrimosa of Dawn. I actually just beat and reviewed this one very recently, earlier this month, I believe. And the more I think about it, the more I absolutely love these characters. And the story, especially towards the end, is just amazing. And the soundtrack, wow, I cannot stop listening to. This is some of the best music I've heard in recent years. And it's amazing. I absolutely love this game. Go check out my video review if you haven't seen it already. But this is a modern day classic action JRPG that was just so much fun and so full of heart and just incredible. Coming in at number 64 is Super Mario Bros. 2 for the NES and Super Mario 3D World that I played on the Switch. Super Mario Bros. 2 I played a gang of back when I was a kid. This was one of my first video games that I played and fell in love with. I eventually beat it on the All-Stars version in high school, but eventually I have to go back and beat it on the original NES cart. But still, yeah, absolutely one of my favorite NES games. And Super Mario 3D World, I played this one off and on for a couple of years with my wife, and then eventually started over a brand new save file of single player only, never using the Invincible Raccoon outfit, just playing the game legit, and made it all the way to Champions Road, and beat that one sometime in the last year or two. That was just one of the hardest Mario levels ever, and I was so proud when I finally conquered Champions Road at the end of 3D World here. But yeah, these two are about equal. I love them both equally as much. They're just both amazing Mario games. Number 63 is Demon's Souls for PlayStation 3. I beat this sometime in the last 10 years. I originally rented it back when it came out, I think in like 2009 or something, but eventually beat it sometime around 2015 or so. And this was an amazing game. This was the one that From Software made right before Dark Souls that really put them on the map. But this was the predecessor to that. It was an amazing, deep, challenging game with just super hardcore gameplay and hardcore feel about it. And that is what made it so great and such a modern day classic. Number 62, I'm giving to my top 2 favorite Resident Evil games. That is the original that came out back on the PlayStation 1, back when I was in middle school, and Resident Evil Code Veronica for the Dreamcast. This original Resident Evil, oh my god, I could not stop playing this back in 7th grade or so when this came out. And this is what was the PlayStation all about, that it just felt like a horror movie, but like in a video game, with like the footsteps and the voice acting, which was classic, and the graphics and the pre-rendered backgrounds with the 3D characters just looked and felt like cinematic, like no other game had before. This was incredible. Still an infinite classic to this day. And Code Veronica, this is probably my personal favorite out of the whole series. This game was just, the story was amazing. You know, there was just like, it was epic Resident Evil. And I played this, you know, way long ago, back in college. Resident Evil original I played in middle school. Resident Evil Code Veronica back in college. But so it's been a while. But yeah, these are, from what I remember, these are my absolute 2 favorite Resident Evil games. Number 61, I'm giving to Shining Force 2. I believe this was the first strategy RPG that I played ever and beat. This was probably back in late high school, early college. It's been a long time. It's hard to remember, but yeah, this game was amazing. It's so much fun. Faster paced gameplay than the first one that I beat way later, but really made some big improvements. Super fun. Have not played this in a long time. Like I said, I beat it back in late high school, early college, so it's been like, I don't know, 25 years at least. But I'd love to go back and play this again. It was just really a lot of fun. I have a lot of great memories about this classic. Number 60, I am giving to Doom. I played a bunch of Doom and Ultimate Doom and Doom 2 way back in middle school. I played it on the 32X originally, that port, and then I played a lot of it, I remember, on the PlayStation 1 and the PC, I believe, and various ports throughout the years. But yeah, it's hard for me to differentiate between Doom 1 and 2. I remember, yeah, it was just, a lot of times they were grouped into one. Like in this package, I believe they have all the levels from Doom 1 and Doom 2 here on the PS1 version. And I just played a crap load of Doom back in middle school, like I said. This game really was amazing for its time and so often imitated over the years. This was, I know Wolfenstein 3D came out before this, but this was the one that really was the father of first-person shooters. And really, we just could not stop playing this as kids, and it was just so much fun. Playing through all the levels and beating them, it just, on the different difficulty levels, it just so replayable and so much classic fun. Number 59, I am giving to GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, and GTA 5. Wow, all 4 of these are peak GTA for me. The only other one that I played was Part 4, and I didn't think that was as good as these others. It had too much social crap to keep up with. It's still a good game, but not as good as the peak GTA here. GTA 3, this, back in college, this changed the face of gaming and open world gaming and just how much fun you could have messing around and so many things you could do and so many possibilities. It was never anything like this before. And Vice City brought it into the 1980s, and that was so classic, so cool. And San Andreas, you could do anything. They just blew this game up and made it so huge. And then 5, I think, brought it back to San Andreas' quality. 5 is probably the best one overall, and I played it on the PS4 a little bit after it came out on the PS3, so it had a first-person viewpoint option. And this to me was probably the best one, just the most epic. You know, just the really all of these games had hilarious characters and stories to follow and mob bosses to work for, and just so many possibilities and so much fun. Coming in at number 58 is Dragon Warrior 7 and Dragon Quest 8. Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest, for those of you who don't know, it's the same series, but yeah, part 7 and 8, I'm lumping them together. You know, if you push me, I think 7 might be slightly better. I beat and reviewed both of these games recently. Like I said, I've just been getting into this series in the last couple years or so, and these two were phenomenal. You know, Dragon Warrior 7, just a big story, big epic world to explore, and wanting to find out what happened, why is the world covered in ocean. That drew me in right from the beginning of this 125-hour epic. I was never bored. This game, it held my attention the whole time, and that's really saying something for 125 hours. Now, Dragon Quest 8 was a little bit shorter, slightly smaller scale, but it had voice acting. It had characters that I just cared about so much, and the ending was just beautiful. And the post-game was extremely important to get through, to find out the hero and how his past and how he connected with this world. And then watching the ending again, oh my God, it just tugged at the heartstrings. Both of the more I think about it, like, they are pretty damn close. So I'm putting them both together, and they really both are amazing games in this amazing, amazing series. Number 57, I'm giving to Street Fighter 2 and any updates it had, but I mostly played Street Fighter 2 Turbo back here on the Super Nintendo a ton back in grade school and a bit in high school. This game was just so amazing. We had never seen anything like this before. Street Fighter 2 really made the biggest impact on fighting games, probably of any fighting game ever, and just one of the most influential games of all time, but still so much fun to this day, and so many classic characters. This game, you know, we'll be replaying this forever. It's just so much fun with depth and simplicity at the same time that anyone can just pick it up and play, and the controls were just amazing. This is an absolute timeless game. But to be honest, the one I liked a teeny bit better back in grade school is what I'm giving number 56, and that is Samurai Showdown 2. This is a compilation disc on the PS2, but I played a little bit of part 1 and a little bit of part 3, but the one that I dumped most of my time into was Samurai Showdown 2, and that's why I'm displaying this here. But yeah, Samurai Showdown 2, with the weapons-based 2D fighter with the gorgeous Neo Geo graphics. That game blew me away, you know, just a teeny bit more than Street Fighter 2 did back in the day. And I played so much of it back in grade school and middle school and a bit in high school. And it was just so much fun. Just an incredible fighter that I could not put down and just want to play it forever. Number 55, I'm giving to Mega Man 2 and Mega Man X. These are actually the only two Mega Man games that I've played a bunch of and beaten. Mega Man X I beat back in grade school. Mega Man 2 I played a lot in high school, but eventually beat it as an adult, sometime in the last year or so, on the authentic cart, but on easy mode. But either way, yeah, I've reached the end credits of both games. Both of these games are incredible with their soundtracks, and, you know, Mega Man X, you know, that's a big childhood favorite of mine. But Mega Man 2, playing that in high school and finishing it later on in my early 40s, you know, that is a classic game as well. They're both just phenomenal action platformers. Number 54, I'm giving to the Lost Vikings that I played on Super Nintendo back with my cousin in grade school, way back when it came out. This is another huge childhood favorite of mine that my cousin and I beat together. And it was just so challenging for us, but we made it all the way to the end. And it remains one of my absolute favorite games of all time, one of my favorite games on the Super Nintendo. This is a classic that not enough people talk about, and just has such amazing, unique concepts in gaming, just like EGM said right there on the front cover. But it's true. You know, the way that each of the three Vikings had their own play style and strengths and weaknesses. You know, the guy with the red hair, he could run, and then this guy in the middle, he could fight, and then this big guy had his shield and he could float through air. It was just an amazing game that should not be forgotten. Number 53 goes to Popful Mail for the Sega CD. I beat this one back in 2019 or so it's been about 6 years. This is a whimsical, beautiful, charming anime action RPG type game that with awesome voice acting and just beautiful anime graphics. This was really impressive stuff on the Sega CD way before anime got as popular as it is today, and this is just a classic game that should be gone back to and revisited, and now that people appreciate this type of stuff more, it really is an incredible game. Number 52, I'm giving to Gunstar Heroes for the Sega Genesis. I played and beat this one back in high school, played a bunch of it, and this game is just run and gun action at its finest. You know, the action platforming, run and gun shooting genre like Contra, this is the best of them. You know, if you like games like that, this one you absolutely have to play. It is so much fun, so exciting, so exhilarating, so fast, and it's just an absolute classic. Number 51, I'm giving to Gravity Rush 1 and 2. I absolutely adore these games. I first played them in 2022, I believe, and then I thought I loved them, and I thought about them more, and I was like, no, I got to go back and do all the extra side quests. So I started a brand new save file in 2023 on Gravity Rush 1, and then right back after that, I beat Gravity Rush 2 again, doing all the side quests, doing all the extra stuff to experience the full story. And these games are incredible. They really tell one complete story. You know, Gravity Rush 1 is like a prologue to Gravity Rush 2. I did a review on these games around the time that I first started this YouTube channel, and they just tell an amazing, whimsical, story full of heart and endearing characters, and I just absolutely love it. The music and the soaring through the skies with the gravity mechanics, just amazing. I loved flying through the cities with the girl Cat. These are just two magical games that not enough people talk about, and I really wish that Sony would go back and revisit this franchise with more sequels. Coming in at number 50 is Nier Automata. This is the Day 1 edition that I got signed by a couple of the voice actors here, and the Game of Your edition. This game, I played it back when it came out, which I believe was about 2017 or so. So it's been a while, but I remember this being just a beautiful, beautiful game with deep philosophy, fascinating story that you have to play through it multiple times to see through it with different perspective. But I had so much fun with this. I want to go back and play it again because it's been a while, but this is just an incredible action JRPG with just a unique look at this post-apocalyptic world in the future, and it feels bleak and somber, and I love that, and it's just an incredible, incredible game. Number 49, I am giving to Seiken Densetsu 3, which never released here in the United States on the Super Famicom, Super Nintendo, but they eventually brought it here dubbed Trials of Mana, and they brought it on the Collection of Mana here for the Nintendo Switch. I played it way back in the day on emulation, and then I played it again when it came out on this Collection of Mana here several years ago. This is the sequel to Secret of Mana, and it is even better than that classic. This game was just so incredible with the different characters you could pick, the story, the action RPG gameplay. This is just a timeless classic with so much replay value. I want to go back and play it a third time. It's just so incredible. Number 48, I'm giving to Virtua Fighter 4. I played a gang of both versions back in college, the vanilla version and the Evolution version here. Mostly the vanilla version, though. But yeah, both are great. This just felt like the deepest, most technical 3D fighter around at the time. And playing this and getting better at it, I always picked Lao to go through with it. And it just felt like mastering a real-life martial art. This game was just so deep, and it kept me coming back for more. And it's just 3D fighting at its best. Number 47, I am giving to Rule of Rose. This is my favorite survival horror game of all time. I played it about 1.5 years ago and did a big review on it. This game is incredible. The look and atmosphere of it with the 1930s schoolgirl setting and the violin music looks and feels unlike anything else I've played before. There's nothing else like this game. And the story that it tells is so dark and just haunting, and this is psychological horror at its absolute finest. And, you know, I liked the controls and the gameplay. You know, Jennifer was a weak character, and it felt right to me. It was kind of like Silent Hill. You know, so I thought they did an amazing, amazing job with this, and it's a shame that it's so rare and that not too many people have played it. But it is an absolutely incredible, disturbing, and beautiful game. Number 46, I am giving to Moon Crystal for the Japanese Famicom. This is a beautiful game that it is a shame that it never came to the United States. And it's got some of the best graphics, or really the best graphics I saw on the Famicom or the NES, with the fluid animation and just the haunting atmosphere. For an 8-bit game, you will be blown away. It looks like a Disney cartoon almost on the old ancient hardware, but this game is just gorgeous, and oh my god, is it difficult. It's very challenging. Beating this game was a big accomplishment, just as big an accomplishment as owning this authentic CIB here. This is a very rare item. Very proud to have this in the collection, but this is just an absolutely beautiful game that should not be forgotten or missed. It's just absolutely one of the best on the NES or the Famicom. Number 45, I'm giving to Final Fantasy V and Final Fantasy 16. Final Fantasy V I played back in high school when it came on the Anthology compilation here. But Final Fantasy 16 I played right when it came out, I think a couple of years ago. Both of these were amazing games for slightly different reasons. Final Fantasy V, that one, the job system, I remember that back in high school just being so amazing. That the gameplay was really, really outstanding in FF5, as was the music. The story was really good. But yeah, the music and the job system really made Final Fantasy V stand out. Final Fantasy 16 was a real return to form for the series in making a big, epic story that was just mature. It was violent. This was a sweeping epic that more people need to play. This is an incredible modern-day epic Final Fantasy that we've been craving. It's set in medieval times instead of like the future, like they started doing with Part 7 onward. But yeah, this game, just the plot grips you. You know, I wish there was more teamwork between the party members instead of like mostly just playing as Clive. But other than that, like, this game is incredible. And not to be missed. But both these, Final Fantasy V and Final Fantasy 16, I'm putting them in the same number 45 spot. Number 44 is Radiant Silvergun and its spiritual sequel, Ikaruga. I played a ton of these back in early college. I was so proud when I finally got a copy of an authentic copy of Radiant Silvergun for the Japanese Sega Saturn. Beat that. Thank God that there's a Saturn mode that lets you build up lives and power up your weapons, and you can see it to the end. Otherwise, this game is impossible. It's really hard. And Ikaruga is a bit shorter, but again, I remember there being a mode where you can build up more lives or stack up more lives. I don't remember, but I did see both games from beginning to end, and these are my two favorite shmups of all time. It's a lot of nostalgia from playing these back in college. Some of the ones that I mentioned earlier in the list on the Genesis, those are recent playthroughs, but these two I think will always be my favorite of the shmup genre, and they were just amazing games for their time. I absolutely love these two. The action, the 2D action, the music, the presentation, especially in Ikaruga. These games were just beautiful, fast-paced, blistering action, and they're just amazing shmups. Number 43, I am giving to Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. I beat this one a few years ago in 2022. This is another standout title from FromSoftware where they really mix things up by focusing on pairing. This really separated itself from the other Soulsborne games that they were making, and really just an incredible samurai type game where, yeah, it's more about landing the perfect parry and then attacking. It's not so much about dodging like in Dark Souls. So this was a really amazing game. And, you know, you didn't really like level up your character with more souls or whatever, but you would unlock new abilities. And it was just, oh man, the last few bosses in this game, especially the final boss, were so challenging, and it was just such an amazing accomplishment to finally beat this game. Just an incredible, deep, long adventure. Number 42 is a tie between Akumajo Densetsu, that we knew in America here as Castlevania III Dracula's Curse, and Rondo of Blood, Dracula X, Rondo of Blood for the PC Engine Turbo Duo. Beat this one back in college. Beat the Japanese version here on the Authentic Cart last year of Akumajo Densetsu. These two are just, you know, some of the finest games in the Castlevania series. Just amazing. This is gothic 2D action adventure platforming at its absolute finest. The music in both of these games is absolutely glorious. The gothic soundtracks in Castlevania games are in general incredible, and these two do not disappoint. And just the different paths that you can take and different characters that you can use in both of them, you know, just make them absolutely incredible, essential classics. Number 41, I'm giving to GoldenEye 007 and its spiritual sequel, Perfect Dark, on the N64. Wow, this Perfect Dark, this one I played both of these in college, late high school, early college. But Perfect Dark was the first one. This is the game that finally made me crack and buy an N64. And I beat this on all the difficulty settings. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done in a video game, especially back then in college. And then afterwards, I did GoldenEye and did all the difficulty settings, all the levels, and just completed both games 100%. And it was just an amazing experience. You know, playing these on multiplayer split screen was great too, but I was really into the single player experience, but both of it, all of it. These games were just landmark titles for their time in the first person shooter genre for the consoles. Coming in at number 40, we have a tie between Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario World, and Super Mario 64. In my mind, these are all equally phenomenal games. I can't decide between the three of them. They were all just so much classic fun for their time and for all time. These are timeless games that will be played and replayed forever. You know, Mario 3, that was the best of the NES trilogy, and there was just so much you could do with the raccoon outfit and flying. And then Mario World had the Yoshi and so many levels. And then Mario 64, this was a game changer and really provided the blueprint of how to bring 2D into the 3D for everybody. There was never anything like this before. So, you know, all three of these games were just magnificent, timeless classics. For the record, Mario 3, that one I played a bunch of as a kid on the authentic NES cart, but then beat it on the All-Stars version in high school. Mario World, that one I beat a bunch of times as a kid, played a bunch of it with my cousins and friends, and unlocked all the levels. So much fun, and then replayed it at least a couple times over the years. And Mario 64, played that one a bunch in high school, unlocked all 120 stars. Just endlessly replayable games that I'll be replaying forever. Number 39 is Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link for NES. I know this one was a little too different for some people. I thought it was an amazing sequel to the classic original. I remember seeing it as a kid and being really intrigued by its somber atmosphere. Something about it just felt darker than the first one, and it was pulling me in, and I finally got to playing this in adulthood sometime around 2010, 2011, a little bit after I got married. And I was just completely engrossed by this amazing adventure. Its dark tone, its beautiful intro, great puzzles, great adventure elements. I liked the mix of side-scrolling and overhead view that they mixed in there. I thought this was really one of the best games in the storied franchise. Number 38 is StarCraft and the expansion Brood War. These games came out in the late 90s. I was a little bit late to the party. I didn't play these until the early 2000s, but I played a gang of them when I was doing some PC gaming in the early 2000s, and these were just amazing, amazing real-time strategy games, the single player and the multiplayer. I just had so much fun playing this game. There were 3 different races. It was just an amazing level of polish. The story, everything was just so incredible. Number 37 is Shadow of the Colossus. I played it on the PS2 back when it came out, and then much later in the last few years, I did play the PS4 reskin, but yeah, they're the same game here. This game was a work of art, just epic musical score, just like simple but deep gameplay anyway, and figuring out how to tackle the giants, and each of them were so unique, and the big open world was like empty, but it was somber in its atmosphere. And then when you found these giants, it was just such an incredible feat to tackle them and to take them down. This game was incredible. It really just struck a very unique, harrowing mood that we hadn't seen before in games quite like this, in such an artful manner, and it was just such an incredible experience. Number 36 is Skies of Arcadia for the Dreamcast. I played this one back when it came out in the year 2000, and then again in 2018. This was just an incredible, engrossing, just magical RPG that I loved. The friendship between the characters and the villains, they were all great. The sense of adventure here was incredible. Flying in the skies, you know, as pirates, I just absolutely adored this game, and the soundtrack on the Dreamcast version with the CD music is just what was the best thing about it. The themes that they played during the boss fights and just all over the whole game in general. You know, I do have the GameCube version, and I heard that one adds extra little gameplay and story bits to it, but they do neuter the soundtrack in the GameCube version, which is why I've only played the Dreamcast version twice. This is the one that I want to play with its incredible CD music. Cracking the top 35 is Final Fantasy X. I played this on the PS2 back when it came out in college. This game was just amazing and so endearing with its characters and the love story between Tidus and Yuna. I just immediately got wrapped up in its incredible tale and the music, the turn-based gameplay. This is one of the best in the series, and I would love to go back and play it again. I just remember falling in love with it in college so much. Number 34 is Bayonetta 2. I love these games, but this is the best in the series. This game had the most incredible, fluid 3D combat for a 3D action game, just about. It's in the top few. There was so much chaos going on, and I always felt in control. This game was just awesome, turning the action up to 11 and emphasizing witch time. And, when you slow down, when you do a perfect dodge and you activate witch time, it is such an amazing little breath of fresh air amongst the blistering chaos. I absolutely love how fun this game is, and I played it back when it came out on the Switch here, and I just want to go back and play it again and again. Coming in at number 33 is Ninja Gaiden 2004 on the Xbox, and its Black update that came out a year later. This is the other game with just the most amazing fluid combat that you've seen in a 3D action game, along with Bayonetta 2. I played the 2004 version back when it came out over 20 years ago, and then I played the Black update in the last year. This was a great update to the already masterpiece game that came out back in the day. I absolutely loved this game back in college, and this was my favorite game on the original Xbox. And then playing the Black update, that was just also a great way to relive the memories last year. And these games, the interconnected worlds, the deep combat, this felt like an action game with the depth of a fighting game, and it's just amazing. This is peak Ninja Gaiden. This is the best in the series that has to offer. Number 32, I'm giving to Nioh. I played this one back in 2018 or so. This was Team Ninja's stab at the Dark Souls genre, and they really made it their own with this one. Even though they were inspired by Dark Souls, they really took the formula and went their own way with it, where you had ki and you could do this ki pulse to continue performing more combos, and this just had the deepest goddamn sword play you had ever seen at the time, and maybe ever. Beating this game was such an accomplishment. It took me over 100 hours, and each of the many bosses, like, I don't know, there were like over 100 or something from what I remember. Each of them kicked my ass like 40 to 50 times a piece. And beating this game, this is one of the hardest games I've ever conquered, and it was just such an accomplishment beating this epic masterpiece. Number 31, I'm giving to Hollow Knight. Man, this game was just a work of art. The music, the atmosphere. This is an epic Metroidvania. The map is huge. This one took me 50 hours to beat a couple of years ago. The platforming is the best I've seen in a Metroidvania. Some of the jumps and stuff that you got to do, my God. The combat is the best I've seen in a Metroidvania with the knockback, that you're using your little sword needle thing. And the boss fights are the best I've seen in a Metroidvania. I can see why many people put this as their #1 Metroidvania. There's a couple more coming up on the list, but this one I have to put damn high up there, because this game really won me over, especially by the end. The final boss fight with Radiance is one of the best final boss fights I have ever seen in a video game, and this game was just, like I said, an absolute work of art. Number 30 is Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2. You've seen a lot of Mario games on this list so far, but this right here is peak Mario. The original Super Mario Brothers is the first game I ever fell in love with, but Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, these are the two best games in the entire series. It doesn't get any better than this, folks. The platforming, the creativity, the level design in both of these masterpieces, these platforming masterpieces, this is 3D platforming at its best. Beating Mario Galaxy 2, the ending, the perfect run level, that was the best bit of platforming I have ever seen in any video game ever. The soundtrack in both of these games is epic, soaring orchestra. It is just glorious, and I absolutely adored playing both of these when they came out in the late 2000s. Just absolutely incredible games. Number 29 is The Guardian Legend for the NES. I discovered this one and played it back in 2019, so in adulthood, I wish I knew about this as a kid. This game is like a love letter to classic shmups and classic Metroidvanias and top-down adventure games, but it was made back in the day on the NES, back in '88 in Japan and released in '89 in North America. I mean, this is a classic game, and the soundtrack, oh my God, if you love classic chiptunes the way that I do, this game is right up for your alley. This is the epitome of hidden gem for the classic 8-bit system. Not enough people talk about this game. It is just one of my top few favorite games for the classic NES system. Number 28 is XCOM UFO Defense and XCOM 2. XCOM UFO Defense, I remember seeing this talked about on IGN's website. They called it the best PC game ever made back sometime in the early 2000s. I played it in college on the PS1, and I could not believe how engrossing this game was. The turn-based system where, you know, you moved your soldiers around the field, and then you had to wait for the aliens to move, and where they were was shrouded in darkness, so you were in constant suspense the whole time. It was incredible, and the way you named each of the soldiers made it very personal when they died. It was just really just a deep, engrossing game with a steep learning curve, but so worth it. And finally reaching the end was just this incredible journey. And then later on, much later in 2020, I finally played XCOM 2. There was a game in between this called, I think, XCOM Enemy Within or Enemy Unknown. I didn't play that one, but I did play the sequel to that one, XCOM 2. This game was equally as great to me as the original XCOM UFO Defense. Like I said, I beat this one in 2020. Super engrossing. Super steep learning curve, but so worth it, and just such a remarkable journey when you reach the end and make it to the enemy base and destroy the aliens. And again, naming your characters, you know, after like friends of yours or whatever, and even designing what they looked like, it just made everything feel so personal, and I absolutely loved both of these games. Number 27 is Ecco the Dolphin Defender of the Future for PlayStation 2, not the Dreamcast version. The Dreamcast version came out a couple years before this. It was plagued by bugs, glitches, technical issues. It unfortunately was not a good game, but the skeleton of a masterpiece was there. The levels were incredible, the graphics, the controls were beautiful. In the PS2 port, they patched up all the bugs and glitches. They created a far better sense of direction where you could press the L3 button and it would point Echo's nose in the direction of where he was supposed to go next, but you still had to solve the puzzle yourself. It also acted like Z-targeting for boss battles. It was an immensely improved version of this beautiful, gorgeous, dreamlike game. This was the Ecco game I had been dreaming about my whole life since I was a kid. The most amazing underwater 3D dolphin adventure that I had been wishing for since playing the disappointment that was the Dreamcast version. I finally played this. The Dreamcast one I played back when it came out in college, but this one I played a couple of years ago, around the time when I turned 40, and it was just like meeting a childhood friend that you had missed your whole life, and finally the perfect 3D Ecco game that I had been dreaming about, I had finally been able to play, and it was this PS2 port of Defender of the Future. Number 26 is Dragon Warrior 4 for the NES. I started playing the Dragon Quest Dragon Warrior series a couple years ago, and I started with this masterpiece. This game is just epic on the NES like no other. This is the epitome of RPGs for the NES system, JRPGs. I just, when I played this game, it made me feel like a kid again with the childlike wonder and the epic tale that it weaved with the different characters. And this was just absolutely one of the best JRPGs I'd ever played in my life. Even though it was on such an old system, they did an incredible job. It's just a big epic adventure, and I've been in love with the series ever since. Cracking the top 25 is Panzer Dragoon Saga. I bought and played this back in high school, like something almost 25 years ago, so it's been a while, but I remember just this being a beautiful RPG mixed with the 3D on-rails gameplay. The first two games before this were 3D on-rails shooters, but they turned it into a JRPG here with an amazing story, amazing atmosphere in this post-apocalyptic type world. And it just captured my imagination, played like an absolute dream. I've been meaning to go back to this one and replay it, but it's because it's been so long since high school. But I just remember this game being an absolute masterpiece, just an amazing tale, amazing gameplay, just unbelievable, gorgeous game. Number 24 is Dragon Force, also for the Sega Saturn, and I also played this one back in high school. This is an epic, big adventure with multiple characters you can choose from and Braveheart-style battles. This game was incredible. There was never anything before this or since where you're just commanding these big armies and they all come clashing together in this beautiful anime artwork. This game really showed what the Saturn's 2D graphics could handle on this powerhouse of a game and powerhouse of a 2D system. My God, this game was just so amazing. I beat it twice at least, but there's so many more characters. I'd love to go back and beat it with all the generals that you can pick from. But this game was just an amazing epic. Number 23 goes to Soul Calibur for the Sega Dreamcast. This wins my vote as single greatest exclusive launch title for a console ever. As well as I have never been more impressed by a game graphically as when I saw Soul Calibur for the first time. Seeing all the muscles rippling in the characters and their facial expressions and the fast, fluid combat and frame rate and everything. Unbelievable. And it played so fluid. You could just pick it up and play. This is my favorite 3D fighter ever. I just loved playing as all the characters with my buddy. We would just play this for hours, and the single-player campaign was so much fun, too, to unlock everything. And this game is just fun and deep, and it just so engrossing. This was just state-of-the-art gameplay at the time, and it's still timeless to this day. This is absolutely one of the greatest fighters ever made, and in my opinion, the greatest 3D fighter ever made. Number 22 is Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos and the Frozen Throne expansion. I've mostly been a console gamer my whole life, but in the early 2000s, I was doing some PC gaming, and this right here is my favorite real-time strategy game of all time. I loved how you could, level up your heroes and build up your base and just all the small skirmishes, playing single player, playing online. This game had just so much personality, so much depth. I always played as the undead when I was competing with this game, and I got so good online, and it was just so much fun. I loved kicking people's butts, and even if I was losing, you were learning at the same time. Just such deep real-time strategy here. God damn, I played this game for hours and hours, just for years, and it's just an amazing achievement. Number 21 goes to Dark Souls. I played this one back in 2015 or so, a few years after it had been out already. Man, this game brought hard games back to the masses and challenge. When I was playing this game, I remember thinking, this is the first game I've played since the original Legend of Zelda that drops you into this open world, but there's several paths that you could and should take, so it's a little bit linear and a little bit open, and very much open at the same time, without too many things to do, where you're just completely lost and there's no depth. This game had deep gameplay. Conquering each boss was such a sense of accomplishment. This game really started one of the most popular genres to this day. The predecessor before this was Demon's Souls, but Dark Souls really kicked it up a notch with its big, open, interconnected world, and just so amazing to explore and just sink your teeth into and get lost in for ages. Coming in at number 20 is Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation 1, released back in 1998, and that's when I played it at least a few times. This game, this is actually the third game in the Canon series. It was preceded by 2 games on the Japanese MSX, Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, which we never got here until later compilations. But this is the first game that most Americans played, and this brought cinematic presentation to a whole new level with its incredible voice acting, memorable characters, iconic villains. Solid Snake, voiced by David Hayter, was just an unforgettable hero. And this game was just a masterpiece of cinematic storytelling and gameplay, mixing the two together for an unforgettable thrill ride. This was just like playing a movie, but like a really good action espionage spy movie. You know, it was just amazing. This was Kojima at his absolute best. Now, unfortunately, I did not like where Kojima took the story in the sequels after this. I hated Raiden in Metal Gear Solid 2. I thought Snake Eater was boring, and I hated the nanomachines in Metal Gear Solid 4. I never played Part 5, Phantom Pain, but whatever. Whatever they did with those sequels does not take away from the utter perfection that was the first Metal Gear Solid on PlayStation 1. Number 19 is Lunar Silver Star Story Complete for the PlayStation 1. I played this one a couple times back in high school, and then a third time later on in later adulthood. This game was so full of heart and passion, the music, the story. Oh my God. It's actually a remake of an older Sega CD game, but that Sega CD version I only played a little bit of. I never finished it. But this PS1 version is the one that I played a bunch of. And like I said, I beat it at least 2 or 3 times over the years. And the story captivated me. The characters, the ending is just so emotional. I absolutely love this game. The gameplay, everything is so polished. This was just, you know, in case you can't tell, JRPG is my favorite genre, and this is one of the best of them. Number 18 is Grandia. This is another epic JRPG that I just fell in love with back when I played it in high school, and again a little bit after I got married. This is just an epic adventure with endearing characters. For fans of the JRPG genre like myself, this is one of the best examples of them. The combat system, the gameplay in here, I remember at the time what was the best and funnest I had ever seen in a JRPG. Just so much fun, battling the endless hordes of enemies. And just the depth of everything was so good, so engrossing, and the story, the epic narrative here, just a very long quest. I remember it taking me sometime around 60 hours to run through. Big game, big adventure, unforgettable. Number 17, I'm giving to Chrono Cross. I played this game sometime around late college, I believe. It's been a while. This game is even better than the fondly remembered original Chrono Trigger for me. This one, oh my God, did it hook me right from the beginning. And let me tell you, bold statement incoming, this might indeed be my favorite video game soundtrack of all time. It's a tough call, but this is a damn strong contender. The atmosphere of this game, the way that, okay, Surge, he's the silent protagonist, but he does talk a little bit. And this game does a perfect job of making it feel like the events are happening to you personally. And it just, oh my God, it just feels like a dream. There's almost a little bit of a Twilight Zone feel to it. Once you start playing from the beginning, it's just amazing. And the intro sequence is one of the best intro sequences I've ever seen in a game. It just pulls you right into this epic tale. I really got to go back and play this one again and unlock more of the endings. This game was just incredible with all its characters, graphics. It's got the best graphics on PS1. This game was just an absolute work of art with so much heart and so much effort behind it. It's just unforgettable. Number 16 goes to Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. This wins my vote as greatest fighting game ever made, 2D or otherwise. There is nothing on this level. The fluid animation, the depth here. There's various ports. I first played it on the Dreamcast and in the arcade, and then there's a port on the Anniversary Collection here, and this other 30th Anniversary Collection. But yeah, we're talking about Third Strike here. This game, the depth felt like mastering a real-life martial art. The parry system, the way there's a risk-reward to it where normally you hold back to block, but if you tap forward with perfect timing, you parry the guy's attacks and can intercept with your own combo. This was the most addicting fighting system and fighting game ever, and I don't think it will ever be topped. This game is absolute perfection, and they're never going to make another game like this again. I mean, just with like I said, with the 2D animation instead of using 3D sprites, this just looks and feels like unlike anything else. So vintage, but so perfect. Oh my God, just absolute, like, classic, best fighting game ever made. So number 15, I'm giving to Final Fantasy VII Remake and the sequel Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Let me tell you right now, this is a little bit tentative because this is actually going to be a trilogy, and we haven't gotten the third installment out yet. Like I said, I'm filming this video in 2025. This one I played back in 2020 when it came out, and this one in 2024 right when it came out, and we're still waiting on the third installment. I think once the trilogy is complete, I'm expecting this to rise up in the rank a bit. Both of these games are absolute masterpieces. Remaking one of my favorite childhood games, you know, that I played back in high school. Playing the story again as an adult with how much they've updated the gameplay, the characters, how much they've fleshed out the lore and the story and the backstory. It is amazing what Square Enix is doing with this remake trilogy, and it's just I am completely engrossed and enamored by what's going on here. I just want to see how the trilogy finishes, but for now, I'm comfortably putting them in the top 15. Like I said, the action RPG gameplay, this is the best action RPG gameplay system I've ever seen. It just absolutely incredible, depth, exhilarating, unbelievable. And the story, like I said, how much they flesh it out, it is just incredible games with lots of hours of gameplay. Number 14, I'm giving to Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Played this one at least a few times over the years, back in high school, again in college, and again a little bit after I got married. This game is just a masterpiece of the Metroidvania genre with its music, its atmosphere. You know, they took the Castlevania franchise and then tried to make it like Super Metroid and just did an impeccable job of it. You know, with all the different abilities, you would find this huge castle to explore, and then it flips upside down halfway through. It just a remarkable, incredible game that is it's just so influential and heavily imitated and copied to this day. But you know, we've never seen it quite like this. This game is just a work of art that will be remembered forever. Number 13, I am giving to Elden Ring. From Software's magnum opus. Man, this one took me 140 hours to conquer back when it came out in 2022. I still have not played the DLC, but just the base game here, beating it once a few years ago was just, oh my God, one of the most epic adventures ever. And this game has just been making waves ever since. And it is just such a magnum opus masterpiece. You cannot sing enough praises about this game. Let me tell you, right now in the list, this top 13 was very hard to pick. And this game, oh my God, just unbelievable. The boss battles, the last quarter of this game was probably the hardest of this type of game that I've ever played. I would say that the last quarter of this is harder than Nioh. The beginning does a good job of easing beginners into the genre, but what an epic adventure for From Software to take the Dark Souls formula and mix it with Zelda Breath of the Wild and just make this amazing, immaculate journey that just unforgettable, unbelievable. You know, the sense of dread and foreboding that I felt in Elden Ring is only topped by one game, and that is my number 12 spot, Returnal on PlayStation 5. This, to me, is the hardest game that I have yet conquered. And I've beaten Battletoads and Ninja Turtles on the NES. This is the hardest game I've ever beaten. And, oh my God, the journey that it took me on, the world, like, you playing as this astronaut and dying over and over again, and the sights you see and the sense of wonder and awe and woe just took my breath away like few games have, and only the best games have. This game is an absolute masterpiece. The story is very mysterious and open to interpretation, but your jaw will be on the floor with the sights you see in this game, and the boss battles, oh my God, just incredible, incredible game, unforgettable journey. Number 11 is Ecco the Dolphin and Ecco the Tides of Time for Sega CD. These games were a huge cornerstone of my childhood back when I beat them in middle school. These are another set of games that just took me on an unforgettable, dreamlike journey under the sea. In the ocean is this dolphin with such fluid controls, and you know, finding your family after they got kidnapped by aliens. Just what an imaginative story to let you play as this dolphin, and the sights that you see, the areas that you explore. This was unlike anything before or since, and making it to the end of both games. But I remember the Welcome to the Machine level at the end of Ecco the Dolphin. Oh my God, what an accomplishment when I finally beat that, and just beating the whole game. I remember this took me months back when I was a kid, and the sequel was equally amazing. These are just two of the most beautiful, imaginative, unique games ever made, and that is why they absolutely are making it in my number 11 spot. Kicking off the top 10 is Metroid, Super Metroid, and Metroid Prime. You know, the last three games were very, very difficult for me not to stick in the top 10, but for my number 10 spot, I'm going to have to go with these three games that are the peak of the Metroid franchise. The original Metroid I played back in high school, and even though it was already a few generations old, this game blew me away. And I played it again last year, and it still stands the test of time. It had the screw attack. It invented a genre. It has just dripping with atmosphere. Even on the ancient hardware, it's just a masterpiece work of art of a game. And Super Metroid kicked things up to 11. This one I also played in high school right after doing the original. And this game also blew me away, even though it was, you know, from a couple previous generations at the time. And it just... a masterpiece on the Super Nintendo, an utterly perfect game. The genre, the Metroidvania genre, really perfected here in Super Metroid. You know, this is the peak of the 2D Metroidvania type genre. And then Metroid Prime, this came out when I was in college on the GameCube, and the development team did the impossible. They brought Metroid into the 3D, but they did it from a first-person viewpoint, and they did a flawless job that just blew everyone away. This game felt like it was from the future, and that's why all three of these games were equally just outstanding and game changers for their time. That just, like I said, they all felt like they were from the future, and all just brilliant masterpieces. Number 9 is going to Half-Life and Half-Life 2. This is the Orange Box compilation that had the base game plus episode 1 and 2 packed into it, the two extra additions to Half-Life 2. Half-Life 1, I played when it came to PS2, so it was already 3 years old at the time, and this game blew me away on the PlayStation 2, and then later on I also played it on the PC. These are the two best first-person shooters ever made, hands down. Single player, there is no competition. This game, the way it never left Gordon's perspective and just told the story from his eyes, it was storytelling on a whole new level the way it did that. And it was just so exhilarating with the AI, the enemies and everything. Like, you're this scientist and this experiment goes wrong and it feels like it's happening to you. You know, just more than any other game like this. It's just incredible. And everything felt so realistic, like it was a living, breathing world, like in reality. It was amazing. And Half-Life 2, this was just incredible with the physics, the gravity gun, unbelievable. And then the two editions they made, Episode 1 and Episode 2, were great. You know, I wish that they came out with Episode 3. That would have been amazing. And I still have yet to play Half-Life Alyx on VR. I'm dying to play that. Yeah, we'll see where the series goes. But as is, these two games, just absolute perfection, masterpieces. You know, Half-Life 2, that came out when I was in college, and I played it right away on the PC, and then later on got this Xbox 360 version. But yeah, these games were huge for me in high school and college. Number 8 goes to Shining Force 3, Scenarios 1, 2, and 3. This is the American version that we got. Unfortunately, it's only Scenario 1, but in Japan, they released 2 more scenarios to complete the whole epic story. I eventually played it in early 2021, so 4 years ago, on this English translated reproduction for the Sega Saturn. So glad that the fans made this and translated this epic masterpiece into English for all of us to enjoy. This game is epic on a whole new level. This is the single longest campaign I have ever completed in a video game. It took me 175 hours. The story that this game weaves is the Game of Thrones of video games, with these warring political and families, you know, warring with each other. Meanwhile, there's an evil demon awakening on the other side of the world. Oh my God, it's already been, you know, like I said, like 4 years or so since I played this, but I want to go back and play it again. Like, this is strategy RPG at its finest. You know, it's the gameplay is deep, it's easy to understand, but there's so many different characters you can pick from, and so many different secret characters that you could find. You know, this game is just, you know, endless in its content. And its story is just so huge with so many different facets and things going on. It's absolutely incredible and not to be missed for strategy RPG fans. Number 7 is a 5-way tie between the original Legend of Zelda on NES, Link to the Past on Super Nintendo, Ocarina of Time on N64, and Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom on Switch. For me, these are the peak Zelda games of the long storied franchise. The original Zelda on the NES just blew me away back when I was a child. You know, I first played Super Mario Brothers, but this is the first game that I played that was really like the first 10 out of 10, utter perfect masterpiece, timeless, magical work of art game that I have ever played. And just timeless to this day. It was incredible. I finally beat it in high school, and it was just amazing, and still amazing to play to this day. Link to the Past, that one I got when I was a kid, when it came out in grade school, and that one I beat many, many times. I replayed that game so much. Played it in high school as well, and then a little bit as an adult. I'd love to go back and play it again. It's just such an amazing adventure with the sense of awe and discovery. And Ocarina of Time, that one came out when I was in early high school, and then I finally broke and got an N64 in senior year, and then I played it. And oh my God, what a masterpiece, what a game changer, bringing the 2D Zelda into the 3D utterly flawlessly with such an epic tone and dungeons, unbelievable. And then, you know, Nintendo really had to freshen up the formula when the Switch came, and they came out with Breath of the Wild, and this had a very clear, distinct vision that really mixed things up. And things were getting a little bit linear with these two games in the series, but this one brought it back to how the first one just drops you in an open world with several paths that you could and should take, but just encourages you to explore, and this game just did that perfectly. And then Tears of the Kingdom, you know, Breath of the Wild, I put about 90 to 100 hours into this, and I did beat the DLC, but Tears of the Kingdom, I did everything. I put 170 hours into this to do all the side quests, all the shrines, side adventures, light up the runes underneath the ground, and it was just amazing how much this was huge. It's second only to Shining Force 3 Scenario Trilogy as the longest time I've ever put into a game, but this game was just ginormous, and completing everything was just so satisfying. This was just, you know, epic on a whole new level, and all of these games were just absolute cornerstones of my childhood and adulthood, and they're just timeless adventures that will be enjoyed and celebrated for ages. Number 6 is going to Claire Obscure Expedition 33. I know this game is rather new. It just released a couple months ago, and I just reviewed it on my channel in the last week or so. But let me tell you guys, it really is that special, and the more I think about it, the more it just keeps rising in the ranks in my mind of how utterly brilliant, artistic, and masterful this game is. This game is a true work of art, as I expressed in my review. The music, oh my God, this is some of the best music I've ever heard. It is easily the best soundtrack of the last few console generations. It's utterly epic. The gameplay, the turn-based RPG combat, the way they infuse the parry system with it, makes it so much more interesting that all other turn-based RPGs, that really is my favorite genre, seem boring compared to this one. I cannot believe how much this game has spoiled me. Like, I wonder, like, if it's going to rise even more over the coming years. But for now, I'm comfortably going to put it at number 6. That's where I want to place it right now. I just had to put this in the top 10. This game blew me away. And let me tell you, the two endings that you get, oh my God, those are two of the best endings I've ever seen in a video game. They just hit me so hard, so artistic, so dramatic, and subtle in the spots that they need to be, that it just hits the perfect tone for me, this game. The whole game, especially the endings. You gotta play this game. Don't let anyone spoil it for you. The story, the concepts are utterly brilliant and so unique. You know, we've just never seen anything like this before, and just please play this game. Number 5 is going to Dragon Quest V. You know, I started playing this series about 2.5 years ago, starting with number 4, and then I played number 5 on the DS first. And this game blew me away so much that I immediately started a second playthrough on the Super Nintendo Super Famicom version. We never got it here in the States, but I played this repro of the Japanese version here with an English translation. But yeah, this DS is a very faithful remake of the Super Nintendo version. But let me tell you, this game, oh my God, there has never been an RPG that has felt so personal. The way it follows this guy's life, and it's his childhood, and then later on in early adulthood when he gets married, and then later adulthood when he has children. The way the protagonist is silent, but the way this game makes the events feel like they're happening to you and putting the pressure on you to pick who to marry, which changes the course of the story, and then who you have kids with, and when you're waiting for the children to be born, it is so personal. I've never felt that in a video game before, and this game just touched me in such an emotional way, and that's how I would describe Dragon Quest V, is touching and personal. It is just a beautiful masterpiece. And so far I've played the first 1 through 9 games. I've enjoyed them all, but this one, number 5, is absolutely my favorite in the series that I've played. And it is just incredible. You know, I wish I had played this game as a kid, but I'm so happy to be playing it now in my 40s, and I want to go back and play it a third time. You know, in the Super Famicom, Super Nintendo version, they give you 2 wives to pick from, and this one they give you 3 wives. So, you know, it's got so much replayability, and it just utter masterpiece, old school masterpiece, timeless adventure for all ages. Number 4 is Final Fantasy VI and Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII, this game I played right when it came out in 1997 on the PlayStation 1, back when I was in high school. And this game had such a huge impact on me with its storytelling, the graphics, the music. My God, I had never played a JRPG before. This was my first one, and it's still up there with the best of them. And then right after that, I played Final Fantasy VI, which they called 3 here on the Super Nintendo, but it really is Part 6 on the Super Famicom. This one was equally good to Part 7. Both of these games, the characters, the story, the epic soundtracks, the deep gameplay, customizing your characters, leveling them up. Oh my God, these games were just timeless masterpieces for all ages, just like a lot of these my other favorite games, but these two really, really touched me. Very emotional storytelling, just unforgettable characters, the villains in both of these games, but especially Sephiroth here. He's one of, if not my favorite villain in any game ever. You know, and this one, Kefka, he's also a great villain, and what he does to the world is just absolutely devastating. Both of these games were just devastating, emotional storytelling on an epic level, and I will never forget these masterpieces. Number 3, I am giving to the Xenosaga trilogy on PlayStation 2. Wow, I played these games right when they came out back in college, and then I played through them a second time last year, actually, did a full deep dive review on them. These are my favorite games of the 6th console generation, which is very arguably the best generation of video games ever. These games blew me away with their epic storytelling. As I said in my review, they weave a tale spanning the universe itself with equal heart to match it. I will never forget these characters and the just epic tale that this game weaves, and the gameplay in all 3 games is great. It just, like I said, full of heart. The plot twists that happen in this game, that you find out, the revelations all throughout, but especially towards the end, it is absolutely jaw-dropping, magnificent, unforgettable. I cannot praise these masterpieces enough. I mean, these games just do not get as much attention as they deserve. You know, we've never seen something so focused on storytelling like this before, but it pays off in spades at the end, you know, and like I said, all 3 games really just hit the right notes for me. They started running out of a little bit of money and resources, you could tell, you know, towards the end, especially a little bit with Part 2 and with Part 3, with the way some of the cutscenes don't match the certain cinematic presentation of other cutscenes, but the big cutscenes, they give the full cinematic treatment. And regardless of those quibbles, this is epic storytelling on a whole different level than we've ever seen in video games before. And just the ambition of these games and the heights that they reach is just unbelievable. There is nothing else better on the PlayStation 2 for me. This absolutely had to be in my top 3 games of all time. I don't care what anyone says. These games just hit me like nothing else, almost. And we're about to get to those 2 more games in just a minute. Number 2 is going to The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2. Wow, these games took cinematic storytelling, emotional storytelling, motion capture and voice acting to a whole entirely new level that has never been topped. I love gut-wrenching, bleak, depressing stories and movies, and if you like stuff like that, Last of Us Part 1 and 2 is really just the epitome of that kind of stuff, and it is just so devastating, emotional, gut-wrenching, both of these games. I mean, I played Last of Us Part 1 on all 3 versions over the years, the PS3, then the PS4, and then recently I did the PS5 reskin, and just the relationship between Joel and Ellie hits me like nothing else. And when he goes back to save her from the cannibals towards the end of the game, the pacing during that whole sequence is just unbelievable up until the ending. It is absolutely a masterpiece of storytelling and stealth gameplay. That was fantastic too. And Last of Us Part 2. For the record, I played this when it came out in 2020 and then played it immediately a second time, so twice in a row. Controversy or not, this game hit all the right notes for me. Like I said, it's bleak, it's depressing. If you like movies like Schindler's List or Requiem for a Dream, this game is straight up your alley, and it certainly is for me. Those are some of my favorite movies of all time, and Last of Us Part 2 is absolutely my second favorite game of all time. In fact, I would even give it the nudge over Part 1. I loved it that much. I mean, both these games, I'm putting them in the same slot. They're basically equal, but if you pushed me, yeah. Part 2 was even more epic and more gut-wrenching. Just towards the end of the game, like when Ellie's on the farm with Dina and everything's going great, but certain stuff happened in the past and she just can't let it go. That spoke volumes to me, and it was just utterly brilliant. It was powerful like nothing else I had ever seen in a video game before. And that's why these two are taking my number 2 spot as my second favorite games of all time. And my number 1 favorite video game of all time, after almost 40 years of playing video games, I don't think this game is ever going to be topped, and that is Xenogears for the PlayStation 1. Wow, this game hit me like nothing else. As you can tell from my list, I like playing games with a good story to tell, and this game right here has the single best storyline I have ever seen in a video game, and it's a strong contender for favorite soundtrack of all time, and music is another one of the most important things in a video game for me. And this game, oh my god, epic storytelling, epic music, I love the gameplay, but really it's the story in this JRPG that hits me like nothing else. And this always will be my favorite game of all time. I don't think it's ever going to be topped. I played this one back in late high school, early college. Immediately played through it twice in a row, even though it's like a 60-hour game. And then played it a third time a year later, and then a fourth time a little bit after I got married, a little over a decade ago. I got to go play it a fifth time. But this game, I cannot recommend it enough. The plot twists, the revelations. This is from the same creators as Xenosaga. This was their project right before Xenosaga. And you saw I put Xenosaga at number 3, but yeah, number 1 is going to Xenogears. Later on, they made the Xenoblade Chronicles games on the Switch. Those are great too. You saw them towards the bottom of my list in the 90s somewhere. Those were really good, but I feel like Xenogears and Xenosaga, that's where they really focused on storytelling more than anything. And it feels like with Xenoblade, they kind of pulled back a little bit on the story and focused a little bit more on the gameplay, which is not a bad thing. But for me, like I said, what most important thing for me in an RPG is the story. And Xenogears is second to none. Xenogears is number 1 favorite story and favorite video game of all time, period. Go out and play it if you haven't. It has the single biggest plot twist in any game ever for me, which I'm not going to go into. I don't want to spoil it for you, but and just everything else, the characters, the villains, the plot, the story, the setting, the atmosphere, the music. There's just nothing better. I mean, oh my god. I can't believe it. It all culminates into the magnum opus that I have played in my nearly 40 years of playing video games. And it's my favorite game of all time. So there you have it, guys. That's Video Game Cabinet's top 100 favorite video games of all time. There were a lot of ties in there, but you know, it's tough, you know, picking between some of these, especially if they're in the same series. You know, they could be the same quality, but yeah, that was a lot of work. I've been working on this list for months now, refining it, massaging it, and I've been shooting this video for the last week now. Really happy to finally have it done. But yeah, just looking at all these games, just bringing back so many great memories of all these years that I've been playing video games since I was 5 years old, and now I'm 42. So, yeah, that's close to 40 years of gaming. Yeah, like I said, I've beaten all these games from start to end screen, and you know, they're all great. Some of the games towards the bottom of the list, like pretty much number 91 through 100, those are really strong 9s. And then starting at number 90, which was Bayonetta 3, that one, 9.5 and upwards. And then once you start getting into like number 48, that's like really strong 9.5s. Number 48 was Virtua Fighter 4, like very close to a 10 out of 10, you know, and then, you know, up to Final Fantasy X, number 35. That one, like, super, super close to a 10 out of 10. And then 34, Bayonetta 2, I gave that a 10 out of 10. So everything up from 34 is absolutely worth a 10 out of 10, especially, you know, as you get towards the top. Like I said, number 13, Elden Ring, you know, I had a really hard time not putting Echo the Dolphin and Echo the Tides of Time and Returnal and Elden Ring not in the top 10. I tried to squeeze them in there, but, you know, like Clara Obscura Expedition 33, that really threw this list for a loop, let me tell you, because I played that super recently. I wanted to get that one done before putting the list out, and it ended up at number 6. So, yeah, I mean, who knows? You know, my taste can and absolutely will change over time. You know, maybe Clara Obscura will crack the top 5 at some point. I don't know. And stuff like FF7 Remake and Rebirth, those will rise up higher. Those may eventually fit in with FF6 and 7 equally. It's just I need to see how that remake trilogy turns out before I really am sure of it. But yeah. That's my list. You know, Xenogears is absolutely number 1, and Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, I had to put it number 2, and Xenosaga Trilogy, that rounded out the top 3. Those 3 I am absolutely sure of. Those, nothing touches those. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed. That's my list, my taste. You know, I know this was a very, very long video, but I had to get it out there and just get all my thoughts in, and that's about it. Hope y'all enjoyed, and have a good night.